Number 1. Chevrolet Impala SS. If you ever wanted a car with muscle car power, but without looking like a teenager overdosing on testosterone, the 1994 to 1996 Chevrolet Impala SS was it. At first glance, it looks like a car for a sales manager, or maybe an undercover cop. But underneath that serious-looking exterior, this thing was a beast on wheels. It was basically a Camaro in disguise, dressed up as an executive sedan. Because even grown men in ties deserve to have fun. But this wasn't just any Impala. Chevy gave it a sport suspension, thick sway bars, tighter steering, and lowered the ride height so it wouldn't handle like a boat in corners. It also had 17-inch wheels, 4-wheel disc brakes, and a limited slip differential so you wouldn't embarrass yourself spinning tires at a red light. Back then, it cost around $25,000. Which was a steal when you realize you were basically getting a muscle car in a family sedan's body. These days, finding one in good shape is tough. But if you're lucky enough, and you've got the budget, this Impala SS is still one of the coolest ways to take the family for a ride while feeling like a 90s street racer undercover. Number 2. Nissan 300ZX 2+2. When people talk about the 90s, Nissan 300ZX, they usually mean the twin-turbo, the one with over 300 horsepower that dominated the highways. But hey, that wasn't the only version. There was also a naturally aspirated 2+2 version. Sure, it didn't have the twin turbos or the fame of its sibling, but it was still a proper sports car with serious attitude. How quick was it? Honestly, not bad for a non-turbo. It did 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in about 7.5 seconds. That put it right alongside cars like the naturally aspirated Toyota Supra or the non-turbo Mazda RX-7. And when it came to top speed, it could hit 230 kilometers per hour without breaking a sweat. Design-wise, pure 90s art. Low, wide, and sleek. This thing still looks fresh today. You'd never guess it's over 30 years old. Inside, it was full-on retro-futuristic, with buttons everywhere, and that space-age vibe only the 90s could deliver. It cost about $35,000 new. Not cheap, but still way more affordable than the twin-turbo. Today, these models have a quiet but loyal fan base, especially because many of them survived without being modded to death. If you're after a 90s sports car with style, solid performance, and no turbo headaches, the 300ZX 2+2 is a forgotten gem. It might not have the legendary status of its turbocharged brother, but it's got its own charm, and it'll still make you smile every time you floor it. Number 3. GMC Typhoon. Alright, imagine this. It's the 90s and someone tells you a SUV can beat sports cars in a drag race. You'd probably laugh in their face or think they were high. Then the GMC Typhoon showed up and shut everyone up. On the outside, it looked like your average family hauler. Grocery runs, school drop-offs, nothing special. But underneath that boxy body was a turbocharged 4.3-liter V6, pumping out 280 horsepower and 488 newton-meters of torque to all four wheels, thanks to its all-wheel drive system. And yeah, that meant this grocery getter could destroy serious sports cars of the era. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour? 5.3 seconds. That's faster than a C4 Corvette, a Porsche 911 Carrera 964, and even some Ferraris. A 4-speed auto kept things smooth, and a limited-slip rear diff helped it hook up off the line. Now, it wasn't perfect. The suspension was stiff to handle the power, but cornering wasn't exactly its strong suit. Still, if you loved launching hard and embarrassing cocky sports car drivers, this boxy beast was made for you. Back in the day, it sold for around $30,000. Today, it's a collector's item. So, if you ever spot a Typhoon on the street, don't be fooled by the minivan looks. It might just hand you an L at the next stoplight. Number 4. Ford F-150 SVT Lightning. In the 90s, pickup trucks were workhorses, dirt, tools, construction, you get the idea. No one in their right mind saw them as sporty. But Ford went full mad scientist and said, what if we built an F-150 that drives like a muscle car? And boom, the 1995 SVT Lightning was born. They dropped in a 5.8-liter V8 with 240 horsepower and 461 newton-meters of torque. That doesn't sound wild today, but for a truck back then, it was nuts. Result? 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 7.2 seconds. That's ridiculously quick for something the size of a small building. Top speed? 190 kilometers per hour, putting it on par with mid-tier sports cars of the time. But Ford didn't stop at the engine. They reinforced the chassis, upgraded the suspension, and gave it bigger brakes so you wouldn't crash trying to tame it. The 4-speed auto did its job just fine, and the limited slip diff helped get the power down clean. Of course, it had its flaws. It was priced at about $21,000. Number 5. Ford Thunderbird SC. When someone mentions the Ford Thunderbird, most people instantly think of those classic 1950s models. Or maybe the failed 2000 reboot that didn't excite anyone. But back in 1995, there was a version that deserved way more love. The Thunderbird SC, or Super Coupe. Instead of going with the usual big, thirsty V8 formula, Ford went in a different direction. They gave it a 3.8-liter V6 with an Eaton M90 supercharger. The result? 230 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque. That gave it better throttle response and more usable power than a lot of V8s at the time. On paper, the SC held its own just fine. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 7.2 seconds. And a top speed of 140 miles per hour. Not bad for what was supposed to be a luxury coupe. But what really made it special was the independent rear suspension, something you almost never saw in American cars back then. While most American coupes were bouncing over potholes with their ancient solid axles, the Thunderbird SC delivered a much smoother, more planted ride. It even leaned into the sporty side. And if that wasn't enough, it came with either a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed auto. Something you didn't often get in American coupes, which were almost always stuck with boring automatics. So what went wrong? Ford just kind of forgot about it. The Mustang took all the spotlight, while the Thunderbird SC sat in the background, even though it was more comfortable, more refined, and nearly as quick. It originally cost around $25,000, and while it didn't get the recognition it deserved back then, today it's a hidden gem among 90s performance coupes.